All right, we asked on Instagram if anybody had any questions for us that we could talk about on YouTube. And so today we're going to dive into some of those. And the first question, which was near and dear to all of our hearts, was this came from Debbie. It says, I can't get off meds, done trying, need to forgive myself and accept. Do you have any suggestions? And we definitely talked about medication on here before. I think all three of us did a couple months ago too, right? We talked just a little bit about like how if you're on meds, you haven't failed anything. And I think there's just not a lot of chat about it when you first get diagnosed either, because it's kind of like you get this diagnosis, this is the course, this is the path, and you're still like digesting all of that and taking it all in and coming to terms with it. It's a lot to take in, number one. And so like as the weeks go on, when you have it, you kind of start to ask those questions of, do I have to be on meds? Like, what could this path look like? So I can very much relate to the sentiment of feeling those things. I definitely felt that when I was first diagnosed. And I spent a good course of the first part of me having IBD. I was not on any meds, and some of that was due to lack of access and the cost, and some of that was just some fear. So I can definitely understand, where they're coming from.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we get a lot of those types of questions too. Like you're right, you go from not really knowing what's going on to a diagnosis to straight to a treatment path. Usually, medication is only talked about. Diet really isn't talked about much. So then people will go and search, and there's lots of conflicting information online, or there's people saying that you can heal your disease with nutrition, supplements, whatever, and then some are saying nutrition doesn't matter at all, or all of those types of conversations. It gets really confusing, and then if you really are averse to most medication interventions, it's really confusing and muddy.
Yeah, you're right. It is very polarizing from the
Yeah.
start. It's kind of like diet's not ever talked about so oftentimes. So then it's like, well, what role does that play? Can be very black and white.
And I feel like a big thing that's left out of the picture there is that IBD is an autoimmune disease. So, with that being said, I can't eat an orange and expect that vitamin C and the fiber in that orange to like heal myself, because it doesn't address the bigger picture of what's helping the autoimmune disease, what's helping the body not attack itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, there's things that we can do to help decrease symptoms that diet plays a big role in. But the thing is, like, we don't have control over, on a cellular level, what our body is doing in attacking itself. That's where medications can be really helpful.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry, Ashley, were you going to say something?
Agree with you that it's not either or. And
Mhm.
when you think about the causes of IBD, it's multifaceted. So because it's multifaceted, that means that the course of treatment is going to be multifaceted too. It's not going to be one dimensional, only one path. Like typically, it's multiple things that are helpful for people, rather than just one single thing.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And like you guys mentioned, it's so important to remember that these are all tools in our toolbox, and they're impacting different things. And so we can use dietary pattern to enhance medication interventions and increase tolerance, help malnutrition, help with the amount of nutrients in our body, all the metabolites and things, and that enhances all these other interventions what conventional medications are providing.
Yeah. Yeah, when people get very polarized with the talking about it, I kind of think too, just because it's not the cure doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
it matters, of course it does. Like if you're, especially if you're not eating enough or you're not getting enough nutrition in, like absolutely things matter because it can impact the way your medications work. So it's all interconnected. It absolutely does matter. That's not even a question anymore. The fact that it still comes up is just surprising to me. But
Yeah, I thought about that too. Where does that where is that kind of stemming from? Like if we're feeling this sense of failure because we're having to use medication, where is that coming from? We've been diagnosed with a disease process where we're having an inappropriate interaction with our immune system. It's inappropriately attacking parts of our body. That's not something that we have control over. We didn't choose that. We didn't cause that. That's just part of our picture. And like you said, multifaceted reasons why that happened. I just wonder where a lot of that fear is stemming from.
I can think of where that came from for me, but do you have any sense of where that started? Or did you ever feel those things? And if you did, where did it come from, do you think?
Go for it, Danielle. I'm curious.
Oh, me first?
Sure.
I never had a fear of failure when it came to medication. I had a fear of what is the medication going to do to me? I was fearful of the side effects of it. But there's side effects from a lot of things, right? And if we live in that constant fear, that's not helping anything. Ashley, one thing that you said, I guess, and I think it was the last video we talked about this. It's like, fear can be there, but don't let it be in the driver's seat. So that was what it was for me. And then, it's a matter of understanding how big of a role medication can help play in putting the fire out, right? Decreasing inflammation in the body, and 100% using food to help with a lot of my symptoms. So I guess that's what it was for me. It always made me sad that people felt like they weren't good enough because they had to take medication. And I just want to give them a hug.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I had a similar, I'm more so afraid of side effects. I think it was helpful whenever one of my providers mentioned something where I really just weighed the pros and cons of, okay, if we don't intervene and we let this inflammation run rampant in your body, these are the awful effects that are going to happen. Now, if we kind of weigh that against the potential side effects for a medication, we would much rather be on that side of things rather than let this go. So that was really helpful for me to be like, you're right. Like I would much rather intervene than just let this do what it's going to do.
Makes sense. When I think back to when I was diagnosed around 2010, 2011. To me, I felt like there was kind of this culture of wellness can fix everything. If you think back, it was around the time of The Biggest Loser and Jillian Michaels and all of that mentality of if you make a lifestyle change, everything gets better, everything goes away. And so I think I was diagnosed during that time period where people were thinking like that. I had gone back to school to study nutrition. And so I was with a bunch of classmates thinking very similarly to that. And, also, not really understanding IBD. I mean, we have I had one or two classes that mentioned it on 2 or 3 days out of that year. It wasn't hyper focused on topic. And so even in, nutrition classes, we didn't get a ton of info on it. I think it was commentary from people that I was picking up on and hearing my classmates and their maybe judgments towards others about it. And that culture of just, this will fix everything. I think that was very big background. There's a whole different way of looking at wellness and nutrition back then. And so that thought definitely sunk in for me. And I was an athlete at the time too. And I think that was another part of it. It was hard to compete at the same level. I lived with a bunch of runners and, we'd all get up at 5 a.m. and do all the things. And I was up late all night, going to the bathroom. And it was I was sort of hiding this part of myself, but then I was going to practice and doing life at the same level, pretending like it wasn't happening. And you just feel so out of sorts when you're in that kind of state. Especially as a nutrition student, because I knew that I was taking care of my body. I was a nutrition student. I was an athlete. Of course, both of those things in mind, you tend to eat very healthy and take care of yourself. But so it was this disconnect for me when I was first diagnosed of like, that in combination with when I would go to the doctor for 2 years trying to figure it out, they would be like, well, you probably don't have IBD. You just don't fit the look of it. You don't look like you have IBD. You don't look too skinny. You don't look, all of those things.
Thick. Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like I was still buying into that thought. And so this new identity of you do have it, that it was just hard to take all that in.
And I think our clients even, we often feel inundated with that kind of wellness culture. And like, a lot of us have always wanted to steward our bodies well and take good care of ourselves and do all of these things. And you're hearing all of this advice from people who have never had the disease, don't really know much about it, and they're telling you all of these things, and that's confusing because you're like, this doesn't compute with how I'm feeling or how I'm experiencing things. And then you do that kind of in and of itself makes you feel a sense of failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard getting feedback from people about what
and they're
what
not
they
going to be empathetic. Yeah, like they can't empathize with what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I've even heard either people having fears about working with us because they think they think of it as kind of black and white, kind of like I have to be doing nutrition or I have to be doing meds, or they want to single one of those out and be like, well, let me try medication first and see if that works, and then I'll add nutrition. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I've certainly have. Where we just kind of want to isolate it. We want to find the one thing, and there's just not one thing. There just isn't. It's really a layered treatment approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The disease process didn't just happen overnight. It's this compounding, layered, really nuanced thing that then gets somehow triggered, and then we experience the overflow of that. But then we want a hard and fast fix, like one thing, and it's not. It's going to be layered and nuanced because of even the way we had the onset of it. It would take so much more of a variety of influences to help the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, we all want the cure, right? But
we do.
I think the reality is it's typically going to be, what's really going to happen is treatments are going to get better over time. We're going to just get better and better at that, and finding more and more ways to layer on approaches that are more helpful. Nutrition's going to get better. What we know about it's going to get better. Medications. And that's really what I think we should be after, rather than finding the one thing that's going to make the difference.
Yeah, good point.
Just as like a final thought from me is nutrition and medication can be helpful in that. Just like working with all your healthcare providers, maybe there's something else that someone needs support on, and ensuring that that is part of your care as well, because probably would have an impact on IBD too. I guess what I'm thinking of is, for a lot of our people with IBD, depression and anxiety are prevalent. So talking to a provider about that, because that can also help with lowering your stress in your life, which has the potential to increase symptoms. So just being mindful that, like Krista and Ashley said, it's always a multifaceted approach. There's lots of people out there that are with you in this. You're not alone. And to give yourself a big hug today too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, good word. Right. Well, I hope that was helpful and answered some of your questions and addressed how you're feeling about it. And I hope all of you are doing well and taking care of yourself.